Hi everyone, it's me, Arielle, and it's Wednesday Warriors. And this week I'm going to be talking about a focus on recovery versus a focus on sickness. I'm talking about the plethora of information and blogs and videos and books and all kinds of things out there by people who are in recovery or who are recovered. The focus is on the sickness, and the focus is on sort of the stats and the problems that were faced, but not really on the solutions to those problems or the outcomes of recovery or the results of certain helping mechanisms. And I think it's a really important topic because so often I see blogs and books and videos and people talking about their eating disorder, and it's so fantastic that they are in recovery or that they are recovered and that they've gotten so far away from that, but still their focus seems to be on that. And sometimes I don't think it's entirely their fault. I think a lot of the time the media or their viewers or readers or audience wants to hear the gory details. They want to hear, how little the person ate or what their lowest weight was or see pictures of how sick they used to be. And I don't think that's helpful. I think you'll find that this topic is somewhat a matter of opinion, but I don't think it's any secret or any kind of speculation that there are so many perspectives out there on recovery where the focus is on the illness itself and on the eating disordered past. I think if you have been watching my videos for some time or reading my website or know anything about me, follow me on Twitter or Facebook or whatever it might be, you know that my focus is on recovery and on the recovery process and on getting to the other side and that process of getting to the other side and what is helpful. And I think keeping the focus on look where I am today and how I got here is so much more vital and so much more beneficial than this is where I was, this is where I used to be. I used to do this, I used to be this. And I think certain mentions of eating disordered pasts have their place because in order for me to have any credibility or to be able to say to you, I understand, I get it, because I used to be there and now I'm here, you need to know that I struggled with an eating disorder and you need to know what that meant and how much that consumed my life and how deep a hole I was in before I decided to choose recovery and before I decided to be in recovery and before I got to recovered and before I'm here. But I don't think it's important to delve into every little detail. What I think happens when people do that is there's a lot of room for comparisons. And comparisons, usually where eating disorders are concerned, can be very detrimental to a person's recovery. Now, I'm not just talking about trigger warnings or blog posts or videos or books or talks that are or may be triggering to some people who are in recovery. Everyone has different triggers. Everyone is susceptible to different things. Some people won't be bothered at all by mentions of numbers, for example, whereas other people will constantly compare themselves to see if they ate more or less than that, to see if they weigh more or less than that, etc. I'm not really talking about things that could be triggering. I'm just talking about the focus being on the past and the sickness versus on the future and the current wonderfulness that is life. It's all well and good for me to explain where I used to be, but if I don't show you where I am now and what life means to me and what recovery is really all about and how fantastic it is, you're not going to want to achieve it. You're not going to think that it's great. You're not going to think that it's possible. You're not going to think that it's something worth shooting for. So the focus really needs to be on what comes after the eating disorder. And It also has to be on the process of recovery itself, which sometimes is bad, sometimes is good, sometimes is difficult, sometimes is a struggle in itself. But to show you the reality of that, the process and the journey of recovery, instead of the past behaviors and acts and stats and details of the eating disorder, is really going to get you farther. There's really so much I could say on this topic, and I think if you read my blog, my website, or watch any of my YouTube videos, you'll see that recovery is very important to me, and being a face of recovery is very important to me, and putting out the right messages is very important to me, because there are enough things out there about eating disorders. There are enough things out there about, this was my eating disorder, this was my past, these were my years stuck in this rut. But I don't think there's enough about what life is after an eating disorder is gone. After an eating disorder falls by the wayside, you've kicked it to the curb, and you've transformed yourself into a better, happier, more adjusted person. So that's really what I strive to show. And I don't know about you, but when you continue to watch things or read things or listen to things that talk about the focus on the illness, and you watch a video like this, or other videos or posts that I might have, or that other people who are recovered and have the same mindset might have, it's very refreshing, and it does mean more, and it is more encouraging and motivational, and sort of stands alone in a different category. I think in all the videos I've ever done, which have been well over 100, that there are only 4 videos, which are really one video, part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4, because YouTube didn't allow me longer than 15-minute videos back then. This 4-part video was the only video in which I discussed my eating disorder journey from the beginning all the way up through my current state of being recovered. And I called it, I think, the Memoir Files, part 1 through part 4. And I talked about my life and my history with my eating disorder, my diagnosis, and I talked about how it had started around age 11 and continued. And, I sit here, age 27, fully recovered. And I just sort of took you through the whole process. And I didn't focus more on any one thing during my years with an eating disorder. And I did still bring the focus to recovery and what happened in my own process and what I considered progress. And even so, that video was the only video where I really talked about my personal story with that stuff. And I think people feel just as close to me and just as validated by what I say as if I had made 100 videos where I talked about my illness and my past and my history. For me, the focus always has to be on recovery, because that's where it's at, and that's the ultimate goal. That is the end result that we all want to achieve if we're choosing recovery in the first place. The focus can't be on the past. The focus has to be on moving forward. I've written before on my site and talked about my turning points in recovery, where I can answer questions or show you certain points that I can remember clearly being turning points when I chose certain aspects of recovery, or when I realized I didn't want an eating disordered existence anymore. And it's really so good to talk about that stuff and to show where that can lead than to be wallowing in details of a not so great past. On my site, my sidebar has said for the last 4+ years, "Here I seek to turn tears to words in an effort to heal, share, and help in the simplest of ways. There is life beyond an eating disorder. I have found it, but I still know and feel the pain and suffering eating disorders carry with them. I can't forget, but I can write. Every day it is there, that terrifying it that tries to get a hold of so many others. Sometimes it succeeds, sometimes it does not. But words are tools. Turning tears to words is where it starts. And in a nutshell, I think that really gets across what I'm trying to say in this video. That focusing on those tears isn't where it's at. It's on turning those tears into something else, something productive, something better. That is where the focus should be. Because really, knowing more about me might be entertaining and interesting and helpful in some ways, but at the heart of it, it's really not about me. It's about you. It's about what you want to do, what you can do, and it's about your recovery, not my recovery. Things that I've learned in my recovery and my past are what helped me to make videos like this and write on my website in order to better help you. But it's still not about me. It's about you. And we're all different. And the more I might focus on my past with an eating disorder, the more you might be thinking to yourself, well, I'm not as bad as she used to be, so I don't know if I really need help or if I really need to recover. Or you might be thinking, well, I'm a lot worse than she was, so maybe there's no help for me. Or you might be thinking, well, she had to deal with this and this and this, but I only have this one family issue, so why am I struggling? And I think that it's very unfair to yourself to put yourself in such a little box and to compare yourself to me or to compare yourself to anyone. So again, it's just one more reason why the focus needs to be on recovery and needs to be on the now and what comes after the now as well, and not on what's already happened. I've done videos on finding the root and figuring things out. Certainly, finding the root of your eating disorder, the root of your problems, is going to be helpful. I'm not telling you never to look at your eating disordered past. I'm just telling you that that's not where the focus needs to be to get somewhere else. And as far as myself and all these other people out there who are in recovery or who are recovered, the focus doesn't need to be on their past and on their eating disorder, their illness. It needs to be on the present and the future. Because if the question is, do you want recovery? Then the focus needs to be on recovery. Makes sense, right? Well, I hope you're all having a wonderful week out there, and I'll see you next time.